Welcome to Homeless in San Diego. Real people, real stories. We elevate the voices of people who have experienced homelessness, and we elevate the voices and experiences of people helping others overcome homelessness. And that's what we're doing today. We're joined today by a colleague of mine here at Interfaith Community Services, Kim Nye.
Hello.
Welcome, Kim.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, Kim, how did you come to do this work at Interfaith? Can you share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I ended up in auto claims for about 14 years.
What kind of auto claims?
I used to determine liability, who was at fault.
Okay.
And then later I was settling bodily injury claims, like working with attorneys and looking over medical records, things like that.
Okay, I was a bill collector before I came here.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very similar actually. Get to know people. All right, so you're in that. And
Yeah,
then
so I got really burnt out on that, and I wanted to do something that was more meaningful.
I can relate, yeah.
Yeah, and my dad had Alzheimer's, and it was a wild roller coaster of that situation. And after that happened, I realized I had to make a change, and it was time. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I actually took 3 months off. My only goal was to work with seniors and to not be in the office all day long. And it just kind of happened. It was exactly what I wanted, working with seniors, and I'm out in the field. I go into their homes, meet them at parks, and, do what I can to help them.
What an amazing fit.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you were able to come here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about the experience with your dad, though.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love Interfaith and everything that it stands for. And, it's great.
And so you work with, as part of a program we have called Home Safe, which is actually a partnership with Adult Protective Services.
Yeah.
People may have heard the acronym APS. And you're helping and working with seniors in some really challenging situations that I think our listeners might be kind of surprised exist in this society. Can you share a little bit about?
Yeah, well, most of the seniors I work with have an income of about $1,000 a month. And the Home Safe program has available to us a lot of financial resources to help our seniors. Some of them have maybe a medical situation where they can't afford their rent, and we can pay maybe 6 months back rent and help them get on their feet, maybe provide them with other resources, connect them with different healthcare organizations like PACE. And then other people have been homeless on the street, and we have the ability to get them into a hotel and then figure out how to work with them and maybe get them into an independent living home. That's usually a lot of what our clients can afford.
What's an independent living home?
So in San Diego, I guess they're all over, but they're usually, it's just a home that someone owns. They have a number of rooms. Usually you share a room with somebody else, and there's, rules. A lot of the ILHs will provide meals, at least 2 a day. So that helps someone, because we might have someone that makes, say, $9.90 a month, and the ILH is $7.50 or $8.50. That's almost their entire income. But with the meals provided, we can also increase their CalFresh if they have CalFresh, the food stamps.
Mm-hmm.
Once they start paying rent, they can get more in CalFresh, and there's different things we can do to help them, connect them with other resources.
So you're really helping them maximize the limited income that they have,
Yeah.
reduce expenses,
Right.
and find that highest level of stability possible. What are some of the specific challenges that you've seen people experience?
Well, it is hard in this specific case in independent living homes. It is hard for people to live with other people. It's a challenge, and some of the clients that have been chronically homeless, it's hard for them to adjust to that. But many of the owners will try to put them in different rooms, find a better roommate situation. That is one of the minor issues that comes up sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I have other clients that actually do have good income, but as you know, even just finding an apartment that they could afford, even with a little bit more income, is a challenge. And so one of the things that we've done with the team is we've created relationships with different apartment managers, and we'll check in, hey, do you have a 1-bedroom? And so that really helps us kind of advocate for the clients because we have that relationship.
And how much are 1-bedrooms going for these days? 1-bedroom apartments?
Yeah, so there's a few places that are like sort of slightly subsidized.
Yeah.
There's one here in Escondido. I'm working on one in National City where the 1-bedroom was just a little over $1,000.
Oh, okay.
But normally you're looking at even a studio being $1,200, $1,300, a 1-bedroom $1,600, $1,800 a month, and those are actually cheaper. And
those are on the low end.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's hard to find.
So it's such a challenging dilemma when somebody gets referred to us from Adult Protective Services and they have little to no income.
Yeah.
Can you share a personal story or some personal examples without breaking any privacy, but just to help our listeners kind of understand when somebody gets referred to us, what kind of difficulties they may be facing?
Yeah. I think one of the things we have done in a few cases is we understand the Social Security system. So someone might be getting, say, Social Security retirement of $500 a month. But we can also see if they qualify for what's called SSI, which is supplemental security income. So we work on ways to try to increase their income. I think in one of the Home Safe cases, we were able to pay, I think, 4 months rent, which helped that person qualify because their income wasn't high enough to actually qualify. And yet doing that, it gave them a way to save up and help them move forward. Some clients are able to maybe get a part-time job to help supplement that.
Is there somebody who you've worked with who you think about and you're particularly either inspired by, or at the beginning you were so concerned with how we were going to be able to assist?
Yes. I had a client that when I first met the client, I was really kind of worried they weren't going to adjust to the ILH or even accept that offer.
This is that shared housing we were just talking about.
Yeah. And so sometimes there's barriers that people will put up, and you don't always know what kind of trauma they had in the past. You always have to think about that.
Absolutely.
But I do have a client that I'm very surprised and happy that we've connected, who's followed through on everything, when initially my interpretation is I don't know if they're going to really be a good fit or if they'll do the work they need to. But the encouragement and positive reinforcement really seems to work, at least so far, And
what are some of the factors that you've seen lead people, or the older individuals who are either at risk of homelessness or experiencing homelessness? What are some of the factors that you've seen that lead them to be in that situation?
Yeah, I find that a lot of clients might have had natural resources with family members, and maybe the family unit has sort of broken down to the point where the client can't rely on their family anymore. And that's really sad to see. And of course, we don't know what the whole story is with each client and what led to the family breakdown. But that's a very common thing, I believe, that we run into. We do have some mental illness and other things like that, but it's not always the number one thing we run into.
If you had a magic wand and you could change one thing that you think would help a lot of the people who we're working with, or make something different, what would you do?
I really think that affordable or low-income housing is like the biggest factor. I have clients that actually just got a voucher for Section 8 and they can't find an apartment.
And so this is important. A lot of people don't understand that the subsidized housing through the form of a Section 8 housing voucher, where a portion of the rent will be paid and the individual pays a smaller portion based upon their income level. Those are really hard to get, first off. Most people understand that. Yeah. But what they don't often understand is that once they get that rent only goes up to a certain amount. And as rents have skyrocketed so much, even amid COVID, those amounts, the amount that the voucher will pay, no longer match the market.
Yeah, and actually it goes by zip code. I recently found out, and they do adjust it. HUD, the Housing Authority, does adjust it, but yeah, that is a big issue. And then the other issue is that a lot of places expect you to make 3 times the rent, or 3 times your income has to be 3 times what the rent is. And it should be that they use the portion that the client will pay, which is 30% of their income. They could maybe say 1.5 times that amount, but a lot of times apartments are saying no, the full amount, which why would you need a Section 8 voucher if you could afford that?
The whole amount.
Yeah.
So just one of so many different little intricacies. I mean, you've talked about shared living and how to access that, and the way that you then leverage that to increase the food support that our seniors are receiving. You talked about increasing retirement and supplemental insurance benefits. All these things that I think so many people know very little about, or if they have tried to navigate on their own, it's been very challenging.
Yeah.
You're helping people navigate these things when they're in crisis.
Yeah. And it's so rewarding. And I've learned so much being at Interfaith that I really didn't understand about homelessness and the struggles that people have. And it's been very eye-opening. And it's not always what some people might think. You know, it's not always mental illness. It's not always drug addiction. Some of my homeless clients work, and it's just really hard to bridge the gap to where they can be self-sustaining. That's the biggest challenge, I think.
I was just about to ask you if there's a myth that you think there is around homelessness, and you just named a few of them.
Yeah, and it's surprising how many seniors we have out there that are homeless on the street, maybe staying in a hotel for a couple days a month, and really struggling. And it has nothing to do with any of those other things. It's just the amount of income they have and what's available here. So yeah, I do.
For whatever reason, generationally, the baby boomer generation has been overrepresented among homeless populations throughout their entire existence.
Wow.
So in the 70s, the baby boomer generation were the largest amount of individuals experiencing homelessness. It was true in the 80s, the 90s, and very sadly, it's true today. And of course, they're much older now, and so we have this like you said, frankly, shockingly large amount of older adults who are on the streets or at risk of becoming homeless.
Yeah, and I've found that some of my clients that have been chronically homeless for a long time, who were somewhat comfortable in their situation, as they get older, their health deteriorates, and so many other issues come about when they get older that they just simply can't live.
Well, and like you said earlier too, a lot of people, their family unit breaks down, their family unit just isn't able to provide that support that is really so important at the later stages in life.
And another thing I thought I would mention is that I find a lot of the clients that end up homeless that are seniors also lost a spouse, and that lost that other income. And maybe they could add a little bit of their spouse's income to their Social Security, but that's a huge factor in quite a few of my clients, that they lost a spouse and couldn't afford to live in an apartment anymore.
Plus the emotional and all of the other loss that goes with that.
Yes.
Well, Kim, thank you so much for the work that you do, for the work that we do here to help our seniors in their time of crisis. To our listeners, thank you for taking the time to better understand these challenges. We always like to provide our listeners with something they can do to help and to make a difference. Do you have anything you would recommend if somebody's listening, they want to help?
Well, I think you need to look at what is causing homelessness and really understand the different causes. Of course, donating time and money is helpful. Advocating maybe at your city council meetings to talk about these issues.
Create more affordable housing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's great. Well, and just understanding, like you said,
Yeah.
we asked that question of a lot of people on this show, and I don't think anyone's ever actually answered in that way. You know,
Yeah.
understand better,
Yeah.
right? Take the time to
I think
understand it.
it's- Yeah, there's a stigma and there's
Yeah.
a stereotype that isn't necessarily the whole picture. And I think people understanding that may lead to more compassion and maybe more activism to try to change things.
Yeah. Well, very well said. Well, Kim, thank you so much for being on the
Thank
show
you for
today.
having me.
Thank you for providing our listeners with some different ways that they can help and get involved, and you've helped reduce some of those stigmas and educate around some of those ways today.
All right.
So
Well,
thank you very
for
much.
having me.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you to our listeners. We'll talk to you again soon.